Hello, and welcome back to Anime Corner of Stone Soup, the world according to sci-fi geeks.
Still Sean, still Nans.
Rhiannon, hello. In this episode, we're going to discuss what many people consider to be the bane of anime, filler arcs.
What are they? Why do they exist?
Why do they annoy the hell out of fans half the time?
There's a lot of reasons on that last one, but first
We'll get to that. Basically, a lot of anime is based on manga. Manga that is still, at the time, being written
while they are doing the anime.
And unlike American cartoons that are based on comics, where they may occasionally take a storyline from the comic, but are basically doing their own thing, anime that is based on a manga will be following the story of the manga. They may add a little to it, they may change a few things, but they're still following the story in the manga.
And every once in a while, they catch up to the manga artist.
Which means that they don't have the rest of the story to animate yet.
So they need to do something to stretch things out while the manga artist gets more written out for them.
Thus are born filler arcs, which are extra stories that never occurred in any form in the manga. I mean, these things can be just 2 or 3 episodes long, or entire seasons worth of filler stories.
Yeah.
That's why they're called filler arcs. They are story arcs that are filling in for the gap in the story while they wait for the manga artist to catch up.
Notable examples, the Doomtree arc in Sailor Moon, or the Garlic Jr. arc in Dragon Ball Z.
The Bato arc, and the Amagai arc, and the Muramasa arc in Bleach.
The latter two are unique in that they literally jump in right in the middle of the major arc.
Yes, I mean, literally in the middle of a fight, and then suddenly we jump to this completely other storyline. Now, Bleach at least has a sense of humor about it. They have these little extras at the end of the credits, and with these arcs, at the end of the credits, they suddenly have the characters pop up saying, "We're very sorry, but we have to go to another filler arc. Please be patient with us." Ichigo, the main character, is often left going, "What? What? We're doing what now?" It's hilarious. It really
going
is.
into Muramasa, we even have one of the bad guys saying, "Well, there's no fighting corporate. Sheath the sword. I'll be in my trailer. Call me when I'm needed on set."
Yes.
Just completely ignoring the fourth wall.
Yeah, there's that at least.
Yeah. At least they admit to it on those two.
Basically it is what you might call, and it's a necessity in its own way.
Right.
But the problem is, like with the Bleach arcs, these filler arcs will often come in at bad times.
Right.
Like the story will be really ramping up, and all of a sudden, bang, we're going sideways.
Whoop.
Especially with the really long filler arcs. It's like, is this over yet? I'd like to get back to the real story now. People get impatient with them.
This was a big problem with the Bount arc in that they took way too long to get around to killing off the rest of the Bounts.
Basically, that thing was like, what, almost 60 episodes long?
No, I think it's only about 40 or so, but still.
It felt like 60.
Yeah. The problem is they had a lot of story they needed to tell to get to the main action that they arguably could have found ways to crunch up.
Yes. Now, the reason a lot of filler art, like as we were just saying, another reason that it tends to drive fans batty, not just bad timing, but very often the filler arcs won't be as well written as the primary story. Maybe it's because it's being written completely from the minds of somebody other than the original creator of the series, but they very often will fall short. Also, because they are only filler arcs, there really can't be much in the way of character growth because they don't know which direction that the original writer is going to go in, and they don't want to interfere with that.
Yeah, they don't want to second guess the man or girl.
Woman, whatever. So, relationships don't move forward. Basically, they're tedious, very often tedious. Yeah. And, just...
I mean, at least Sailor Moon's Doomtree arc was only 13 eps long.
Yes. And, it served...
Something like that.
What did he say?
Cardboard for dinner.
Ew. But basically, at least it had something going for it. Yeah.
There is that. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is notable for having a couple filler arcs between Battle City and the Millennium World that had a secondary issue for why they popped up. Namely, manga writer Yukito Takahashi went on vacation to Egypt to do research.
For a year. Good for him for wanting to get as many details right as he can. But it left the anime makers going, what do we do? So they faked it. What else could they do?
Takahashi realized he didn't know jack squat about ancient Egypt.
Or at least not enough.
So he went to the seat of the culture to learn more about it so he could get it right when he did the final arc.
Yes. Apparently he didn't feel like books would be enough. And hey, good for him. I hope he had fun. But, at least those filler arcs were interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Darks was a pretty interesting story arc.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiba Grand Prix with the tattoos, but it was only like 18 eps long and
Yeah.
done, and it was mostly thread tightening. Had a little loose threads they had to tie up.
But basically, you know, filler arcs are in their way necessary, but they're also annoying for various reasons. And
Usually depends on the arc and the series involved.
yes. We don't really watch Naruto, but as I understand it, it has several very long, very tedious filler arcs that fans just hate. But what can you do? When you're following the story that closely, what can you do when you run out of story?
Yeah.
Now,
Issues abound.
you may recall in our review of Full Metal Alchemist that when the anime caught up enough to where the manga was, the creators of the anime and the creator of the manga agreed to go their own separate ways. Right. So what happened in Full Metal Alchemist cannot be considered a filler arc. It is just simply its own version of the story, its own universe.
First Full Metal Alchemist anime is one version of the story. Second is more true to the original manga.
So, you know, slightly different. And, you know, a lot of animes will have, you know, little filler episodes because, you know, what happened in the manga happened so fast that to get a proper full season out, they got to stretch the story out. That's not quite the same thing as a filler
throwaways.
Yes, that's not quite the same thing as a filler arc, although people can get annoyed by those too because, again, they may not be as well written. But they happen. It's not, you know, the anime creator's fault that the manga is really short.
Usually that falls under Rumiko Takahashi's area.
Well, that Naoko Takeuchi's, the original Sailor Moon, is much faster paced than the cartoon. But to, you know, get a full season's worth, they had to stretch the story out.
There is that.
The same thing happened with Magic Knight Ray Earth. They had to change a lot of the story to actually get, you know, at least 20 episodes out of it because the original story just goes boom, 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 boom.
And Cardcaptor Sakura, I mean, they created a whole extra character for the anime of Cardcaptor Sakura.
But anyway, basically, they have to do some padding. And most fans are fine with some padding. Those actually can be interesting. You can get to know characters better. It is the full-on filler arcs that have no connection to the manga that tend to drive people crazy.
And get a little tedious.
Yes. But you know, what else can the creators do other than just stop making the anime for a while? Of course, that's what the people doing Inuyasha did.
So to speak.
Yes. They stopped.
At a certain point, and then they came back.
They didn't end it. They just stopped.
And then came back and did another 26 eps that finished everything up. Without any more tedious filler, I think.
After. Yes. That's my understanding. That basically they decided that rather than do a whole bunch more filler stuff, that they would just stop, wait until the manga was actually fully finished, which it did a couple, you know, in Japan it ended about 2-3 years ago. And then they just did the rest of the story. And while just stopping like that and having that gap of a couple of years is annoying, I think in many ways it's less annoying than endless filler arcs. So, hey, whatever works, you know?
As long as we get the story.
Yes, as long as we get the story. And from the point of view of the creators, as long as they keep getting money. That's what they care about.
Absolutely. The almighty yen.
Yes. Well, that's our opinion on filler arcs.
Tedious, but sometimes not that bad.
Yes, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Usually depends on how they come in.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty much it. That's it.
I think so.
So, until next time.
Sayonara.